Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program,
Nandito po kami ngayon, nasa Ever po kami. Babarilan po.
authorities are set to investigate a supposed misencounter between police officers and drug enforcement agents near a Quezon City mall. The government says 600,000 doses of Sinovac vaccines are expected to arrive within the week, but with more countries rolling out vaccines, how far behind is the Philippines in its own program? And senators will resume their inquiry into the new flavor of the so-called pastillas scam at the Immigration Bureau. Senator Risa Hontiveros joins us live. Two persons are dead and 4 others are injured after a shootout between police officers and drug enforcement agents last night. Authorities described the firefight as a misencounter and an investigation is underway. The Metro Manila Police Chief says the misencounter could have been avoided had the two agencies coordinated their operations. Our Chrissy Di Matulak has more.
A misencounter between law enforcers. That's how the PNP describes the shootout between operatives from the Quezon City Police District and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency Wednesday evening. It happened near Evercotesco Mall along Commonwealth Avenue in Quezon City. 2 police officers died and another was badly injured, along with 3 PDEA agents. A joint PNP-PDEA Board of Inquiry will investigate what appears to be a bungled buy-bust operation.
Yun pa yung imbestigahan natin. Actually, it is illegitimate anti-illegal drugs operation. Okay? So kung sino yung nag-buy-bus, kung sino yung kabay-bus, yun pa ang imbestigahan natin.
National Capital Region Police Office Chief Brigadier General Vicente Danao says it took some time before the two sides stopped firing at each other, as the operatives were not wearing their uniforms. Danao adds the misencounter could have been avoided had 2 units closely coordinated with each other.
Alam nyo, hindi lang po ito first time na nangyari. So ilang beses na po actually ito nangyari. And it always happens, no? Sabi ko nga, it is very unfortunate lang na talagang hindi lang nagkaamuyan kaagad, no? So siguro this will form part of a further revisions of the provisions, if ever, na meron. Kasi sa part naman ng PNP, bawal talagang mag-operate ang police pag wala kang pre-coordination or pre-operation doon sa ating PDEA, sa counterpart.
Danao says the joint investigation will be led by the PNP's Criminal Investigation and Detection Group. The standoff caused heavy traffic on the eastbound lane of Commonwealth Avenue. Authorities say no civilian was injured in the shootout. The mall had secured all access points to the building to ensure the safety of all shoppers. Chrissy Di Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Let's go straight to the source of this story. We have Senator Risa Hontiveros. Senator Hontiveros, welcome to the source, and I want to greet you a belated happy birthday.
Thank you, Pinky. And thank you for inviting me this morning.
Okay. We have a lot of topics to talk about, but gusto ko lang po isingit sana itong nangyari kagabi because, when you look at this video, it's, nakakatakot ho. It happened before 6 p.m. It was a 1-hour shootout between the police, the QCPD, and the PDEA. I just wanted to get your quick reaction on this.
Well, as they said, it was unfortunate or very unfortunate. I would say a very, very unfortunate incident, Pinky. Condolences to the families of the 2 who were killed, and I really hope that the 4 injured and reportedly in hospital, we don't know whether seriously or slightly, I hope that they will recover. But they say a misencounter. And the NCRPO chief said that Hindi ito yung unang pagkakataong nangyari ito, maraming beses na daw. My goodness, no? These misencounters should be more rare than marami or even common. And the NCRPO chief said that may coordination naman daw. There are procedures to be followed. I really hope, Pinky, that the board of inquiry that they've reportedly
Medyo kanina
formed
pa po yung
will
nagbabaril
get
yung
to the
nasa
bottom
bus,
of
pero
what
nagdating po
happened.
yung
Why a misencounter again?
security
Kasi
ma'am.
sabi
Sabay po
Yeah.
nila,
marami na pong
this
police.
is not the
Pero
first time
hindi
this
pa
has
nagkakaroon.
happened. And how could it have transpired at all in the first place? And why did it take 1 hour? Hindi ba pwedeng magkalinawan even within the first few minutes that a misencounter breaks out? No? Sabi din ng NCRPO chief, baka hindi lang sila nagkaamuyan kaagad. Well, maybe it shouldn't take
Opo.
an hour, no? In order to save their own lives and prevent danger to the public.
Very hard to really get at the bottom of what happened here because kulang pa nga po tayo ng impormasyon. And in fact, we've been trying to get anyone from the PDEA, even the police, to speak to us about this. I believe they will have a press conference later this afternoon. But, you know, what we know so far, Senator Risa, is you're looking at two groups, the QCPD and the PDEA, and both are saying they were involved in a, drug operation or a buy bust operation. One saying sila yung nanguhuli ng sa buy bust, yung isa naman sinabi sila yung nanguhuli ng buy bust. So mangyayari ho talaga dito, it's one group's word against the other.
Right. In a way, it's like a he said, she said, but in the end, the Board of Inquiry will have to tell the public the full and true story as they can discover it. Including nasaan yung nilegitimate drug operation or nasaan yung binabuy bust operation, sino sila, etc. Now, all those details just to well, put the public's mind and heart at rest about the very dramatic, traumatic, um, so-called misencounter that happened last night.
Senator, let's go to the vaccines. As I said a while ago, there's much to talk about. Sinovac donated vaccines. So we're looking at, two batches here. I mean, two kinds of agreement. One is the donation and one will be the procurement. I want to talk about the donation first of 600,000. Apparently,
Yeah.
that is set to arrive possibly, according to Ms. Helen Yang of Sinovac. It's possible this week or even next week. Pero minamadali na daw nila ito. But the fact is, this would be the first batch of vaccines that the Philippines will be receiving. Is this a welcome development for you?
Well, it's welcome in the sense that when the vaccines finally arrive, that donation, the timetable will stop being a moving target. Kasi nung una sinabi nila, Feb 15 ang rollout ng vaccination program. And then they said, okay, it's delayed, but Sinovac will be the first vaccines, the donated batch of 600,000 to arrive on the 26th, which is tomorrow, Pinky. And now Ms. Yang says possibly next week. So galaw ng galaw, no? Pangalawa, finally, the FDA issued an emergency use authorization for Sinovac earlier this week. And I appreciate yung effort ng FDA to add to a slowly growing short list of vaccines given EUAs. No? Nauna na yung Pfizer at AstraZeneca, and now we have the Sinovac. I also appreciate, Pinky, yung gabay o payo na binigay ng FDA na itong Sinovac may EUA na siya, pero mas indicated daw siya for healthy adults within the 18 to 59 years old age range, at hindi daw siya recommended for healthcare workers na heavily exposed on a daily basis sa mga COVID-19 patients natin, dahil mataas daw ang viral load at saka long hours ang exposure sa ganyang setting, at hindi sasapat ang efficacy ng Sinovac sa ganyang setting. So nananawagan ako sa FDA at ang sa buong IATF, no, and National Task Force, bilisan yung pag-procure din ng mga vaccines na pwede sa ating mga healthcare workers kasi sila yung priority sa vaccine prioritization master list na inilabas na rin ng DOH. But if FDA says that yung Sinovac na mukhang unang darating, no, the first 600,000 bukod pa sa 25 million na ipoprocure, kung yan ang unang darating, baka hindi masunod yung prioritization list ng DOH. So, bilisan at galingan ang pag-procure ng mga vaccines na bagay sa ating mga healthcare workers so that the NTF can remain faithful to the vaccine master list na sila rin mismo ang nag-issue even if ang mauunang darating, isang donasyon, ay hindi recommended para sa healthcare workers. And I hope that FDA and DOH will release the full findings of their research about Sinovac. At saka sa pag-administer nito, pag i-administer na ito sa iba't ibang sektor ng populasyon, that there be a stringent screening process at saka full information and ano tawag dito, yung choice talaga, informed choice ng pasyente or ng tao na tatanggap ng vaccine na ito, itong particular na vaccine.
You know, it's interesting, Senator Risa, that you appreciated yung tinatawag nga ni President through Secretary Roque, yung kolatilya na nilagay ng FDA. I spoke to FDA Director General Eric Domingo yesterday. Sabi ko nga, nagulat ho ba kayo dun sa concerns ng ilan na bakit ganon, bakit may not recommended for? So, you know, he was saying that based on their study, gaya po ng what you explained, it's better for healthier individuals and not especially the healthcare workers directly treating COVID-19 patients, because you have other senators who are not very happy with this kolatilya that the FDA had issued. But Secretary Roque also yesterday was saying that while this is not recommended, sabi niya, healthcare workers can still opt to get vaccinated if they want to. Do you think this is a sound suggestion? I mean, coming from the FDA saying, sandali ha, wag muna sa mga healthcare workers directly treating COVID-19 patients. And then Secretary Roque was saying, while it is not recommended, healthcare workers can be given the choice to be vaccinated with Sinovac or not.
Parang si Sec Roque is trying to be more popish than the Pope. Kasi kung ako, pasyente or taong hindi doktor, hindi ako healthcare worker, pakikinggan ko ba ang FDA na nagbigay ng ganitong EUA but with that kolatilya na naintindihan ko rin yung ibang colleagues ko na hindi masyadong masaya. Pero sinabi yun ng FDA, makikinig ba ako sa kanila o kay Sec Roque na hindi naman healthcare worker o sa ating mga healthcare workers na of course in the end choice nila iyon. Palagay ko Pinky, dahil gusto natin na evidence-based dapat yung ating COVID-19 response, I would continue to appreciate yung pagbibigay ng EUA plus additional advice ng FDA at yung desisyon ng mga healthcare workers. I would guess no na yung kaisipan at desisyon ng mga healthcare workers ay mas malapit dun sa FDA kesa kay Sec Roque.
What about what was also said yesterday during the press briefing that there is a plan that when the vaccines, the Sinovac vaccines arrive, magkakaroon ng a simple ceremony. And in fact, I believe the president would want to be there as well upon the arrival of the vaccines. Let's listen to what Secretary Roque said. All right, I don't think we have that right now. Pero basically, Senator Risa, he was saying na Pilipino tayo at tumatanaw din naman tayong ng utang na loob. Hence, that's why possibly the president would want to be there pagdating po ng mga Sinovac vaccines.
Oh, I have no problem with that, Pinky. Wala akong away sa mga seremonya, wala akong away sa ugali nating mga Pilipino ng utang na loob. But, you know, the more important is to back up any ceremonies with solid, concrete actions on the ground. And speaking of utang na loob, ang pinakamataas na utang na loob dito sa sitwasyong ito ay sa ating mga healthcare workers mismo, no? Those who've been putting their lives on the line, some of them getting sick, some of them dying since the first day of the pandemic. So, in faithfulness to the prioritization list of the DOH, dapat talaga bilisan ng NTF ang pag-procure ng mga vaccines na bagay at poprotekta sa ating mga healthcare workers. The recoveries we've also been experiencing in this last 1 year of the pandemic are due mostly to none other than our healthcare workers. So, protektahan naman natin sila. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Hindi lang seremonya, hindi lang utang na loob na salita, but let's back it up with procuring the vaccines that they need to stay alive and healthy and serving us above and beyond the call of duty. At saka Pinky, huli na nga yung mga benepisyo nila under the law, including laws that we've passed recently. Wag na rin naman nating ihuli pa, no? Bilisan natin. Let's get those vaccines here on time, which was yesterday, para protektahan yung ating mga healthcare workers na nagpoprotekta sa atin.
And that's what we need to talk about. The vaccination bill that was passed by Congress, awaiting the signature of the president. And of course, this pastillas scam. Sabi ni Senator Risa Hontiveros, may bagong mutation itong pastillas scam. We'll be taking a short break. The Source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Senator Risa Hontiveros. Senator, a bit of good news when we're talking about the COVAX facility. Ang sabi po ng WHO representative here in the Philippines, yung pong scheduled delivery of AstraZeneca could be finalized this week. So, wala pa rin po tayong update about the Pfizer vaccine as much as we've already sent the indemnification agreement. Parang naghihintay pa ata ng counter indemnification or sagot dun sa ating indemnification agreement with them. Well, all this was, again, as you mentioned a while ago, especially Pfizer, was supposed to arrive. The indicative date was mid-February, but obviously this did not happen. Parang in a nutshell, siguro, Senator, what do you think happened? Because subsequently, while this is happening, nagmadali ang Congress, Senate, and the House to pass this vaccination bill, which includes what? Two things: the procurement of vaccines and an indemnity fund.
And I really commend the Senate leadership, our sponsor, Senator Sonny, and my colleagues and our counterparts in the House for taking this urgent action on a vaccine bill or a vaccine law soon to be. Hopefully, in the Senate, we only had wished that the DOH had told us earlier na kailangan pala yung indemnification provision na iyon, dahil kung sinabi nila agad nung palang Committee of the Whole Hearings, di sana mas maaga pa namin tinrabaho ito as we did just within the space of less than 2 weeks. At masaya po ako na tinanggap ng House yung Senate version. I also laud, Pinky, yung ating mga local government units at yung private sector for stepping up earlier, taking the lead in what is now finally, hopefully with the signature of the executive, dahil tinrabaho namin sa Kongreso, truly a more whole of government and whole of nation approach. Of course, nakakainip na yung Pfizer at AstraZeneca na una pa ngang nakatanggap ng EUA mula sa FDA ay nahuhuli sa pag-procure. Nauna pa yung donation ng Sinovac na pangatlo, humabol na EUA. But I don't know, some people are saying, did somebody drop the ball again? Bakit parang minsan nauuna yung karitela sa kabayo? But let's get things in order. Those vaccines that early on received EUAs belatedly now, Congress was informed and we stepped up and delivered an indemnification provision in this vaccine law. No more excuses, Pinky. No more delays, please, on the part of the executive as led by
Yeah.
the IATF to get all the vaccine platforms that they said they've been negotiating for many months now. Hello, it's already year 2 of the pandemic. Get these platforms in place and operating, because we are falling behind in the timetable that they set early on to begin rolling out the vaccination program. And let's get the wide DOH information program about the vaccination program online, so that there's full information
Mm-mm.
to the public. There will be that screening, there will be informed consent, and proper monitoring put in place, as also provided by the bill passed by Congress.
Well, I need to shift topics na, Senator, but this just something I wanted to clear up. Nakausap ko nga po si Senator Drilon kahapon and he said, I asked him, who dropped the ball? Ang sabi niya, it's Secretary Duque and Secretary Galvez, but I need to move on to this. He also said that even that law that Congress passed, the vaccination bill law, is not really necessary according to Senator Drilon. He was saying na kaya naman po, it's within the powers of the President to issue an executive order on this. So just very quickly, why pass a law when, if Senator Drilon is right, that kaya naman po ng Pangulo to na wala nang kailangan gawing batas ang Kongreso?
Totoo, sinabi din ni Senate Minority Leader Sen. Frank na the President has all the powers to bind the government. That's the term used, to bind the government, even in a vaccination program like this. So I guess our still passing a law was a natural follow-up on the Senate Committee of the Whole hearings on a vaccination program. So here we've, in a way, gone even above and beyond what is required in terms of legislation. So all the more we can tell the executive that, hey, no more, as I mentioned earlier, Pinky, no more delays, no more excuses, because the LGU stepped up early, the private sector
Okay.
stepped up early. Here we are in Congress passing a law about something that, in fact, you could already do and you could have done in the past year. So
Okay.
speaking of who dropped the ball before, now the ball is again solidly, finally, in the court of the executive.
Okay, and we need to take another short break. This pastilla scam, we need to talk about this after the break. We'll be right back. Senator Hontiveros, a new modus dito sa pastilla scam. Sabi niyo nga, it's a mutating pastilla scam. This was already revealed, investigated at the Senate. And then very recently, meron na naman at panibago, hindi na nga, ibang version nga ng pastilla scam. Ano ho ba to? Wala ho kayang kadala-dala ang mga pasimuno nito?
Parang ganyan nga, Pinky. I mean, as a fruit of the Senate inquiries and NBI's and DOJ's own investigations, cases have started to be filed against BI officials and personnel, even against one travel agency operator and manager. Cases filed also in the ombudsman. Pero mukhang ngang walang kadala-dala. I think their business model is too profitable for them in the past several years already, at least since 2017 when former Justice Sec Aguirre issued that Department Order 41 creating the Visa Upon Arrival, or the VUA, which is another scheme which is a revenue stream for the one-stop shop of corruption at the BI. Hindi sila, and the cases so far have been filed against low-level or foot soldier, and some, but not all, mid-level bosses and masterminds who were identified in the Senate hearing so far. Mukhang there's really still a protector who is operating, emboldening those who remain inside and their cohorts, for example, in the travel agencies, to now mutate the original pastillas into something even much more profitable for them. 50 times over, apparently. 10,000 pesos before per person, and now reportedly 550,000 pesos. So parang dollars na, di ba? And then, so probably they're emboldened because the roots haven't really been deeply pulled out, uprooted to put an end to this corruption in one of our important government agencies. Important not only to protect our borders, but to protect our women and children against the crimes they've been suffering from the Chinese pogo workers and undesirable aliens among those Chinese using the VUA to come into the country and operate their criminal syndicates here.
Will will this prompt the Senate to look into this new pastilla scam?
Well, the Senate Committee on Women, was prepared to do our last hearing on the year-long now POGO-related prostitution resolution. We were going to close with a final look into not just the inbound human trafficking and the so-called Chinese-only POGO-related prostitution here inside the Philippines, pero tignan din yung sinasabing baka yung sindikato ay the one behind also outbound trafficking of Filipinas bound for prostitution abroad. And now we'll have to do a back-to-back of closing topics in our hearing kasi ito nga, Pinky, yung nakita naming mutation, parang may lumot, no, na pastillas, pero bagong flavor, mapait na pastillas scam dito sa BI. Wala talagang kadala-dala. Matigas talaga ang ulo. Palagay ko masyadong matapang ang apog.
Okay. Senator Risa Hontiveros, ma'am, thank you so much for your time.
Very much too. Ingat, stay healthy.
You too. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.